Millionaire laughed at a cleaner, but she revealed an incredible $4 billion contract surprise. Mary fidgeted with her cleaning cart, the weight of a day spent in the shadows of polished marble and glass towering around her pressing down. She witnessed the suits gliding past like they were more important than the very air they breathed, especially Jack, the gold standard CEO with his tailored suits and overinflated confidence. To him, she was invisible, a small cog in his empire. But the daily grind wasn't just a paycheck. For Mary, it was a silent battle, a test of dignity under a ruthless corporate hierarchy. Her late grandfather's voice echoed in her mind, reminding her that hard work and negotiation were the backbones of success. Yet there she was, a mere cleaner, overshadowed and overlooked. One afternoon, the oppressive drone of chaos erupted from the boardroom. Mary did her usual routine nearby when Jack's voice rose, an unmistakable blend of anger and frustration cascading through the walls. She paused, her ears perked up. He was discussing a project sinking like a stone. The urgency ignited something deep within her, a mixture of rebelliousness and fear. Then, as if driven by an unseen force, she spoke, offering an alternative that she thought could save them. Jack's dismissive wave cut through her, echoing her worst fears. She was nothing more than a cleaner beneath his towering ego. Humiliated, she retreated to the quiet corner, her breath uneven as confusion and anger churned together in her gut. Was this truly all she was destined to be? The thought gripped her, twisting with desperation. Yet, in that same breath, she was fueled by an unexpected spark. After her shifts ended, the fluorescent lights of the deserted office became her sanctuary. Each night she pored over industry reports and market analyses, transforming her restlessness into determination. Each sleepless hour warped into clarity as she stumbled onto ideas, a vision her grandfather once dreamt of, a revolutionary cleaning service to catch the eyes of corporations like Jack's. As weeks turned to months, Mary transformed. The cleaning cart was now just a vessel for her dreams. The burden she carried morphed into a fierce sense of purpose, pushing her to craft a proposal that brimmed with potential. She felt an exhilarating blend of anticipation and trepidation as she tailored her insights into a $4 billion contract, one that could not only launch her presence into the limelight but also initiate the very change she longed for. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Now, the moment of truth had arrived. Mary stood outside Jack's office, her heart racing and mind a whirlwind. She had rehearsed 1,000 times, but with each step forward, self-doubt clawed at her. What if he laughed again? What if she was still just a cleaner to him? Yet she pressed on, pushing down the fear that threatened to envelope her. As she entered, the glass walls surrounding him felt like barriers closing her world, and rather than opening it, with determination echoing in her voice, she laid the contract before him, a culmination of late nights and deep reflections. Jack's eyes widened, flickering between skepticism and intrigue as he scanned the documents. Suddenly, the tension felt palpable. His eyebrows knitted together, the distaste fading as she detailed her vision. The air stilled, an unmistakable shift encompassed them. Could he continue disregarding her? But before they could delve deeper, the door swung open, revealing a new opportunity lurking just outside. Uncertainty crackled in the air. One moment hung in suspense, the future unresolved, leaving both Mary and Jack teetering on the precipice of a turning point yet to come. Mary's heart raced as the door swung open. In walked Linda, Jack's right-hand woman, a formidable force known for her sharp intellect and even sharper tongue. She seamlessly carried an air of authority that immediately shifted the room's energy. Mary felt like a deer caught in headlights, momentarily forgotten amidst the volley of corporate banter. Jack's gaze darted to Linda, and just like that, Mary's voice felt light years away. Is this the groundbreaking proposal I've heard whispers about? Linda inquired, glancing between Mary and Jack, her expression revealing nothing. Mary would have given anything for a moment to gather her thoughts, but Jack's eagerness to impress caught her off guard. Actually, it is, he replied, a confident smirk curling his lips. Mary felt the ground beneath her shift. Was this a chance to regain control? Or was she merely the interloper in a game played far above her head? Let us hear it, shall we? Linda gestured toward the chair across from Jack, but it felt more like a command than an invitation. Mary sat, her stomach twisting. This was the moment she had prepared for, and yet, the enormity of it staggered her. As she took a shaky breath, she noticed her hands clutching the edges of her proposal. She began reciting her ideas, her voice steadier than she anticipated. Each point she made was fortified with research, insights that derived from late-night studies and calculations. The more she spoke, the more solid her conviction became. Mary could see Linda leaning in, though it was Jack who interrupted, planting doubt back into the fertile ground she had cultivated. Mary, this sounds interesting, but cleaning contracts are typically about volume and price. Why should we consider your vision? His tone dripped with condescension, and for a second, the weight of his dismissal threatened to drown her newfound confidence. Mary paused, wrestling with the familiar tide of doubt rising within her. She met Jack's gaze, steeling herself. Because it's not just about the cleaning. It's about creating a sustainable and efficient system that can redefine workplace wellness. My experience on the ground has shown me what the industry lacks. I can offer not just services but a partnership that values both the workers and the corporate environment, improving productivity. Wouldn't you want to be part of that change? Linda's eyebrows lifted slightly, and Mary noted the spark of interest in her eyes. Perhaps she had finally tapped into something they hadn't considered before. But Jack, unfazed, leaned back in his chair, arms crossed defiantly. That's all well and good, but let us be honest. An industry doesn't shift just because of idealistic dreams. In that moment, Mary was transported back to her grandfather's tales of battles fought for what was right. She recalls the lessons of resilience. It was time to take one more leap. And yet, every monumental shift starts as a dream, Jack. I've witnessed the struggles of those at the bottom, those who feel invisible like I once did. Investing in this might offer returns that simply looking at price slices wouldn't. The silence was electrifying, Jack's expression unreadable. Linda's gaze focused intensely on Jack. The air thickened with expectation, leaving Mary to wonder if she had crossed an unspoken line. Suddenly, Jack broke the silence, his voice low but firm. Your proposal has merit, but I'm not making any promises. We begin pilot projects with proven companies first. Mary clenched her fists, a mixture of frustration and tenacity battling within her. But what if I told you I have a way to secure endorsements from key industry players to support what I'm proposing? Jack's expression shifted. Then I suppose we'll need to see just how far you're willing to go. The potential exists, but so do obstacles. Mary momentarily faltered, recognizing the implications. This was no longer just about her ambition, it was about a dance with corporate politics. What if she failed? Would she revert to being just the cleaner again? Fine, you have my attention. Jack's tone revealed a mix of intrigue and challenge, and Mary sensed the path ahead was laden with challenges, yet ripe with opportunity, and as she braced for the tumultuous journey ahead, she couldn't shake the feeling that she was standing on the brink of both triumph and disaster. With the stakes skyrocketing, the real test of her resolve was just beginning. Could she navigate this high-stakes game without losing herself in the process? Mary's pulse quickened as the conversation settled into a new rhythm. The battle lines had been drawn, yet, the anxiety that had gripped her was slowly morphing into a calculated determination. Jack held the reins, but she wasn't merely an observer anymore. She was a player in this corporate game, and, now more than ever, she needed strategy. With each passing moment, Mary mulled over her plan. Securing endorsements was no small task, especially in an industry where trust was often built on years of relationships. She had connections from her previous work, but could she leverage them effectively? Her thoughts raced as she dissected the steps ahead, research potential partners, gather data on similar initiatives, and tailor her pitch to resonate with their corporate values. "Mary, how do you plan to get these endorsements?" The question snapped her out of her reverie. It was Linda, her expression inscrutable. Mary shifted in her chair, ready to demonstrate her detailed research. "I've already identified key industry leaders. I plan to approach them with a prototype of the proposal, showing how our initiative can improve both their operational efficiency and corporate social responsibility." "Prototype?" Jack echoed, skepticism dripping from his tone. "You think they'll be swayed by a simple pitch?" She sensed the challenge in his voice but remained undeterred. "No, not a simple pitch, but real-world data. I aim to present case studies from successful clean tech projects that have done just this. I want to present this as a data-driven solution rather than an emotional appeal." As she spoke, she could see Linda's interest rekindling. "Data is crucial in our industry," Linda interjected. "But you might need more than just numbers. What is your strategy to engage these endorsements?" Mary drew in a breath, finding her footing. "Networking is key. I will attend industry conferences, connect on social media platforms like LinkedIn, and initiate conversations that place this initiative at the forefront of the sustainability discourse. If I position myself as a thought leader, perhaps the endorsements will follow." Jack regarded her with narrowed eyes, perhaps acknowledging her tenacity. "And if this doesn't work out? We would be back at square one." The implication loomed heavily, but Mary pushed aside the unease fluttering in her stomach. "Failure isn't an option," Mary said, injecting steel into her voice. "I refuse to let this chance slip away. I'll follow through, whatever it takes. I owe it to myself and everyone who feels invisible in this industry." A silence enveloped the room again, but this time, it felt less like a crushing weight and more like an opening. Mary's confidence began to bloom. She was asserting her existence in a space that had long sidelined her, but as the meeting progressed, Mary couldn't shake the feeling of impending conflict. The gambit she was embarking on was fraught with challenges. Risks loomed. Jack could easily sabotage her efforts, and Linda could remain an unpredictable variable. How long could she maintain this facade of composure? Just as these thoughts crept into her mind, Linda stood up abruptly, casting a glance at Mary that felt almost conspiratorial. "I have a speaking engagement at the upcoming sector conference. You should join us. It might not only provide you with valuable insights but also the networking opportunities you need." Mary's heart raced with both excitement and trepidation. This was a direct chance to prove herself but also a potential landmine. "When is it?" "In 2 weeks. Linda's smile was enigmatic. "But it'll take effort to make a mark before then. Can you prepare something impactful?" The weight of Linda's words sank in, revealing the task ahead. The path was not simply about securing endorsements, it was also a crucible of performance that could define her future. Mary nodded, her mind racing. "I'll be ready." With that simple affirmation, she understood the stakes had been raised even higher, and alongside it, her determination to scale this daunting wall solidified. As the meeting concluded, and the trio filed out to business as usual, Mary couldn't help but question what awaited her at the conference. Each step seemed to heighten the tension, and she felt the gravity of possibility settle within her. But was she truly prepared for the encounter that might unravel her carefully laid plans? Would she be able to rise, or would the pressure break her? The time had come to face the unknown, and a quiet resolve emerged to guide her through. The moment Mary stepped out of the meeting room, her resolve felt both exhilarating and terrifying. Each passing day would push her further into unfamiliar territory, and the countdown to the sector conference loomed over her like a storm cloud. With newfound urgency, she dove headfirst into preparations. Her desk became a chaotic blend of research, articles, and market analysis. Hours melted away as she crafted her prototype, pouring her insights into a concise presentation. Numbers and graphs morphed into narratives, each slide meticulously designed to illustrate not just data but a story of potential impact. Her aim was clarity, to demonstrate the tangible benefits of endorsements through visual elements that could sway even the most skeptical of minds. Time became her enemy. The 2-week deadline gnawed at her, and she could sense the pressure creeping in. Mary scheduled calls with old contacts, reaching out to industry leaders she hoped could offer insights or at least preview her concept. Each conversation had its own rhythm, some receptive, others dismissive. Still, she learned to adapt, gathering valuable perspectives that honed her understanding of what truly intrigued these potential endorsers. One evening, surrounded by notes and company proposals, Mary revisited the clean tech case studies she had unearthed. They were enlightening, but more crucially, they revealed a truth about the industry. Successful products were rarely born from perfection but rather from tenacity amid setbacks. This insight struck a chord within her. She paused, contemplating her own fears. Past experiences had taught her the sting of failure, but the thought of stumbling again fueled her determination. Mary resolved to approach the conference not just as a participant but as a challenger. She would not only seek endorsements, she would stand tall, voice steady, and advocate for a change that resonated with her. As the days dwindled, Mary also strategized her networking approach, preparing for the inevitable challenge of mingling with industry veterans. How would she differentiate herself from countless others vying for attention? By approaching conversations as opportunities, not transactions. Each interaction would be a chance to exchange ideas, and with each, she would weave in her narrative of innovation, drawing connections to her work. The night before the conference, Mary found herself rehearsing her presentation, pacing her small apartment. She practiced in front of the mirror, her voice growing steadier with each repetition. Yet, questions clawed at her mind. What if Jack undermined her efforts? What if Linda's promise turned out to be mere lip service? Each doubt was a shot to her confidence, but she fought back with visualization techniques, picturing her pitch landing just as she planned. On the morning of the conference, Mary donned an outfit that made her feel formidable, projecting authority and confidence. As she approached the venue, her heart raced not solely with apprehension, but an unmistakable thrill. She was stepping into a battleground filled with opportunity. Once inside, the atmosphere buzzed with energy. Conversations flickered like sparks all around her, igniting her curiosity and determination. Familiar faces and potential connections emerged in the crowd, and each interaction pushed her further into the deep end of her ambition. Before she knew it, Linda spotted her, a knowing grin on her face. "Ready?" she asked, her eyes sparkling with a hint of encouragement. "More than ready," Mary replied, her voice steady despite the flurry of anxiety in her gut. But as she stepped into the conference hall, she sensed the stakes rising higher than ever. She was not just there to navigate conversations but to conquer her fears and, hopefully, stake her claim in a new alliance. What awaited her on the other side of this moment would redefine her journey, a pivotal step into a realm where her voice could either echo powerfully or fade away. Mary took a breath, her mind replaying the words of encouragement she had amassed. It was time to face the truth of her capabilities and the limits she was willing to challenge. As the keynote speaker wrapped up, her own moment loomed tantalizingly close. Would she find the resonance she craved, or would the weight of expectations crush her spirit? The answer lay just beyond her grasp, waiting, like an audience poised for revelation. The keynote speaker concluded with a thunderous applause, and as the crowd began to disperse, Mary felt the energy pulsating around her. Her heart thudded in her chest, each beat amplifying both her excitement and her anxiety. She glanced down at her notes, crisp, filled with the hard-earned clarity she had achieved over your last weeks. It was time to transform that clarity into action. Scanning the crowd, Mary spotted an executive from a leading clean tech firm, a man known for his keen insight and cutting-edge vision, David Hayes. His reputation preceded him, and the mere thought of pitching to him made her stomach churn. But that was precisely the kind of challenge that fueled her determination. She approached him with purposeful strides, forcing herself to recall the insights she'd gained from her earlier conversations. "David?" she began, her voice steadier than she felt. I'm Mary Thompson, and I've been working on a project that aligns with the latest sustainability trends. His gaze shifted, she had his attention. Nice to meet you, Mary. I'm always keen on innovative approaches, he replied, a hint of curiosity in his tone. In that instant, Mary realized she was facing not just a potential ally, but a mirror reflecting her fears and ambitions. I've been researching what drives consumer engagement and found that endorsements can significantly increase market impact. I have a proposal that leverages this idea, specifically targeting niche markets. As she spoke, she wove her narrative, drawing links between her research and the real-world implications of her project. David listened intently, nodding thoughtfully at her points. The longer they stood there discussing, the more confident she felt. Something inside her was shifting. She was no longer an uncertain participant, she was a contender in the arena, her voice now full of conviction. Suddenly, David interjected, interesting concept, but how do you plan to implement it while ensuring credibility? Mary paused. This was a crucial moment. To address his skepticism would mean to confront her own fears about the reliability of her proposal. I plan to engage experts and influencers from within the industry, she said carefully. By partnering with trusted advocates, we can enhance our credibility while also driving awareness. The way David stared at her shifted. There was intrigue now, a respect that hadn't been there before. Just as she felt momentum building, Jack's unmistakable figure loomed nearby, his presence like a dark cloud casting a shadow on her dialogue. His bemused expression made her stomach twist. She knew he wouldn't miss an opportunity to undermine her efforts. Seems you're chatting up the big fish, Mary, he teased, his voice dripping with sarcasm. Mary met his gaze, a blend of anger and determination surging within her. Maybe I am, she replied, keeping her tone even and measured. Ideas that challenge the status quo can shake things up, Jack. His smirk faltered, if only for a moment. Turning back to David, she realized this confrontation was not a distraction, but an opportunity. I'm focused on constructive engagement and measurable outcomes in my project. I believe innovation thrives when we embrace dialogue, even with challengers. David nodded, straightening as if considering her words. Beyond the moment a powerful realization coursed through Mary. She was asserting her space, refusing to let Jack's toxicity derail her focus. As the conversation continued, she worked to connect her vision with David's business aspirations, sensing he was genuinely invested. By the time they concluded their discussion, she was drenched in a wave of realization. She was the architect of her narrative. Let us connect soon, Mary. I'd like to see a more comprehensive proposal, David concluded, extending his hand. The handshake was electric, the confirmation of her conviction, hard work, and evolution during this roller coaster journey. Mary sidestepped Jack as she left the crowd, her heart soaring, but amid the exhilaration, a different confrontation loomed. Linda had told her there were potential partnerships hidden within these very walls, but finding them would test not only her ambition but her resilience in the face of doubt. And just as she thought she had found her footing, an unexpected voice broke through the buzz. Did you really think you could just walk in here, Mary? This isn't over. Mary turned to find Jack staring at her with an intensity that left her feeling both rattled and empowered. What had she actually ignited in him? As she faced down the uncertainty of how this fierce rivalry would shape her future, a surge of adrenaline rushed through her. The conference was not merely her chance at growth, it was an awakening to a personal war, a challenge that would force her limits beyond mere endorsements. The moment of conflict had arrived, and with each passing interaction, she was ready to discover not just what she could conquer, but who she would become. Mary's footsteps echoed off the polished marble floors as she moved away from the crowd, her mind racing against the backdrop of Jack's taunts still resonating in her ears. The conversation with David had sparked a fire within her, but Jack's words lingered, simmering in the corners of her confidence. She had seen many projects blown apart by petty rivalries, often being her own worst enemy. Finding a quiet corner, Mary took a deep breath, trying to center herself. This was a critical point in her journey, and she needed clarity. She had engaged with David successfully, yet Jack's unpredictable nature seemed poised to disrupt everything she had worked for. The shadows he cast didn't just affect her, they threatened to undermine the networking opportunities vital for her proposal's future. In the ensuing moments, Mary allowed clarity to surface her thoughts. Before confronting Jack, she needed to evaluate her motivations. Was she driven by fear of failure or a desire to prove her worth? The latter felt more truthful. With every interaction she had in this space, she was forging her identity as a professional, one that was capable of standing against intimidation. With resolve, she stepped deeper into the thrumming environment, searching for Linda, her mentor. Linda had a way of placing things into perspective and had always pushed Mary to dig deeper within herself. Finding her in a small group discussing innovative practices, Mary approached with intent. "Hey, can we chat?" she asked, interrupting Linda amid animated discussions. The older woman's eyes sparkled with understanding. Sensing Mary's need for guidance, once away from the crowd, Mary unloaded her frustrations. "I feel like I'm on the verge of something big with David, but Jack. He makes me question everything. He is so condescending, and it rattles me. I just don't want him to derail what I am building." Linda listened, the corners of her mouth teasing a smile. "You must remember, Mary. The only power Jack has is the one you give him. In this industry, people like him exist in every corner, but success comes from knowing your worth and standing firm in it. Instead of seeing Jack as a competitor, view him as a challenge to surpass." The word struck a chord. Mary leaned into them, digesting the wisdom. "But it's hard not to let him get to me," she admitted. The feeling of inadequacy crept back, but Linda's resolute presence steadied her. "Let me ask you this. What is more important, getting validation from Jack or fulfilling your vision? You're not here to please him. You're here to shape the future of your industry," Linda replied, her tone firm yet encouraging. Slowly, Mary's resolve hardened. She would not allow Jack's taunts to navigate her response or define her path. Instead, she needed to engage fully with her own ambitions, not react to challenges thrown in her direction. This feeling of empowerment bubbled within her. "Thanks, Linda. I realize now that I need to focus on solidifying my ideas and forming strategic alliances rather than letting negativity distract me," she concluded, her voice more confident. With renewed purpose, Mary rejoined the mingling crowd. She didn't want to run from Jack, she wanted to turn around and face him, challenge his narratives with her own unwavering confidence. Nudging her way through the throng, she suddenly spotted David again, caught in conversation with another executive. Her heart raced at the sight. This was her opportunity to approach him with a well-structured plan fleshed out from their previous discussion. Yet, the moment she took a step towards him, Jack's laughter rang out from across the room, sharp and cutting. "Oh look, if it isn't the challenger," he called out, his voice laced with mockery. The moment shivered in the air, and everyone turned to see her. The stakes felt higher now. Mary's mind raced. Would she allow Jack's jibes to sway her? No. Instead, she decided to command the narrative, to rise above the petty games. Taking a deep breath, she straightened. This was not just about her project anymore, it was about who she intended to become. As she continued toward David, resolving to articulate her expanded proposal, she sensed Jack's eyes boring into her back, a reminder of everything she fought against, but her focus remained unyielding, her path threading through the crowd with renewed clarity. The real battle lay within, and she was gearing up for victory. As she reached David and opened her mouth to speak, a sudden realization hit her. This would not just alter her professional trajectory, it could redefine her very existence. How deeply could the stakes resonate? What if everything she stepped into next would be shaped by this moment? Before she could frame her thoughts into words, David's face broke into a measured smile, and a new challenge slipped into view within the shadows of the room. Mary felt the air thicken. A test was looming closer. Mary's heart was pounding, the weight of expectation pressing down on her as she stood before David. In an instant, Jack's derision faded into the background noise of the room, overshadowed by the prospect of seizing this moment. She registered David's smile, not as an invitation but as a challenge. The anticipation crackled around her, energizing the air she breathed. "David," she began, her voice steadier than she felt. "I've been mulling over our last conversation, and I believe I can present a compelling angle for my proposal. It not only aligns with our internal goals but also opens pathways to new opportunities." As she spoke, she saw David's eyebrows raise slightly in interest, which encouraged her to dive deeper. Every word she chose felt like a brushstroke, painting a vision not only of her ideas but of the future she envisioned for herself within this industry. Clarity flowed as she articulated her objectives, bold, resonant, and imbued with a sense of possibility she had not felt before. By leveraging our current strengths, we can address emerging market trends while positioning ourselves as pioneers. This could be a turning point for our team, and I'd like to explore forming a strategic alliance to maximize our reach. Mary noticed David leaning in slightly, absorbing her enthusiasm. When she finished, a silence hung between them, laden with promise. This was her moment, the moment she had stepped into the fray for, battling not just external limitations but the doubts that had occasionally marred her path. It was invigorating, then, unexpectedly, a familiar voice intruded. "Nice sales pitch, but what's next? A wall of fluff?" Jack's tone sliced through the atmosphere sharply, and Mary felt the immediate shift in the room's energy. Heads turned, attention shifted. He had the innate ability to command a crowd, and she would not let him haunt this conversation. "What's next?" she countered, her back straightening as she clutched her folder, "is finding out how we can make this proposal a reality. Rather than tearing down ideas, why not elevate them? Together, we can create something substantial." The defiance surged through her as she held Jack's gaze, her heart racing not with fear but with resolution. David nodded slowly. "I see where you're headed, Mary. Perhaps we should discuss this further. Let's schedule a meeting to dig into the details." Mary felt a swell of relief wash over her. She had crossed a threshold. The interaction was reaffirming, a portrayal of resilience in the face of opposition. As David moved on to finalize the meeting with her, she caught Jack's smirk from the corner of her eye. But instead of feeling diminished, she reveled in the clarity of her convictions. That evening, as she sat in her small apartment surrounded by notes and coffee cups, she reflected on her encounter. A sense of purpose had ignited within her, and she understood that this was about more than just a proposal. It was about breaking the chains of expectation, challenging the status quo, and redefining her narrative in a space often dominated by loud personalities and abrasive competitiveness. Yet, in the hours that followed, as she meticulously crafted her follow-up email to David, doubt began to creep back in. Was her proposal robust enough? Would the stakes she had raised truly resonate with the decision-makers? She paused, staring at the blinking cursor. Rather than retreat into self-doubt, she decided to double down on her efforts. She resolved to reach out to others who had successfully navigated similar paths, seeking insights and feedback. Each connection would be a stepping stone, fortifying her resolve against any potential backlash or criticism that might arise. The phone rang. When she answered, it was Linda. "Mary, I can sense the energy in your voice. You're onto something big, aren't you?" "Yes." Mary responded, surprising herself with her excitement. "But I feel the weight of what's next. It's like every decision carries more significance now." Linda chuckled warmly. "That's exactly it. You've entered a new level, and with it comes new challenges, but don't let the fear of failure cloud your vision. This is about growth." Mary felt invigorated by their conversation. Each word infused her with strength, and as she hung up, she knew she was on the precipice of something transformative. The journey ahead was daunting, but her ambitions were crystallizing, sharp in focus. Yet, as she returned to her proposal, Jack's mocking laughter echoed in her mind, a haunting reminder of her resolve. The time had come to face not only the challenges he posed but also the self-doubt lingering within. Unbeknownst to her, the real test was yet to come, one that would force her to confront her limitations head-on. And as she prepared for tomorrow's meeting, she couldn't shake the feeling that she was about to unveil something remarkable, something that might reshape her identity forever. The morning sunlight peeked through Mary's window, slanting across her cluttered desk as she reviewed her notes once more. The impending meeting with David was no longer just a schedule block, it loomed as a crucible, one that would challenge not only her professional ideas but also her deepest insecurities. Clarity of intent began to soothe her apprehensions, shifting the tide of self-doubt toward a current of determination. She dressed carefully, choosing a navy blazer that made her feel both authoritative and grounded. Donning the garment was a ritual of sorts, each button fastened was a commitment to her mission. She glanced at herself in the mirror, allowing the reflection to seep into her psyche. This was not the same Mary who had briefly faltered in the wake of Jack's cynicism. This was a Mary intent on showcasing her tenacity and ingenuity. As she made her way to the office, the world outside her window thrummed with the pulse of opportunity. Each step felt deliberate, exerting a sense of control over her environment. Yet, a whisper of apprehension clung to her thoughts, almost parasitic. What if her proposal was met with indifference or, worse, ridicule? She pushed the notion aside, focusing on the positives. She reminded herself of Linda's words: growth was seldom devoid of discomfort. When she entered the conference room, it was abuzz with energy. David sat at the head of the table, engaged in conversation with a few colleagues. As she settled in, the ambient noise faded, leaving only her heart racing in response to the stakes she felt mounting. She took a breath, harnessing the electricity thrumming in her chest. "Welcome, everyone," David began, his voice inviting attention. "Today, we're going to delve into the proposal that Mary has been working on. Mary, why don't you kick us off?" Her prepared notes were like a talisman, and she felt an adrenaline spike as she began to present. Each point articulated her conviction, manifesting her vision with vibrant clarity. "Our current capabilities, coupled with an innovative approach, can secure a competitive edge. By integrating our resources wisely, we can not only respond to market shifts but anticipate them." She found her rhythm, a fluid exchange between her words and the energy in the room. The more she spoke, the more she embraced the potential of her ideas. David nodded, his eyes betraying curiosity. It was a subtle affirmation, yet it fortified her resolve. Just as she began to outline the strategic partnerships that would pave the way forward, a shadow slithered back into her consciousness as Jack interjected. "That sounds nice on paper, Mary, but how do you plan to keep these partners engaged when things inevitably get tough?" His voice dripped with skepticism, triggering a quickening pulse of frustration. "By establishing genuine relations based on mutual value," Mary retorted, her tone robust and fearless. "I believe partnership is not about fleeting victories but about cultivating trust and shared purpose." The response caught Jack off guard momentarily. She could sense the collective shifting in the room. Even David seemed inclined to explore her assertion further. However, a niggling doubt still hung in the air, thin but present, urging her to refine her arguments. After the meeting, Mary sought feedback. Several colleagues approached with genuine interest, buoying her spirits. Yet, within that optimism, she knew she had a critical decision to make. Should she continue to invite critique openly? Or should she sculpt her proposal into an infallible fortress against outside skepticism? As she thundered through her thoughts, the exhilaration of her triumph was slowly eclipsed by the impending reality of a potential struggle. Would she delegate the task of refining her proposal to the very skepticism she wanted to defy? Maybe it was time to confront that head-on, not just with her ideas, but with her own sense of authority. The weight of Jack's earlier challenge nagged at her, entangled in a web of emotions that shadowed her triumph. Perhaps the next step was not merely to withstand his scrutiny but to preemptively anticipate it. The friction of this dilemma gnawed at her as she plotted her course forward. The stakes were rising, her personal and professional identities commingling in a dance of risk and reward. She realized that this conflict was not only about the partnership, but about her readiness to embrace the complexity of leadership itself. With resolve, she gathered her notes once more. Her proposal may not be perfect, but it was a testament to her growth. The transformation was palpable, a metamorphosis woven into every aspect of her work. The question loomed ahead: Would she lean into her ambitions or cower under the weight of doubt? And as she stared at the crisp paper before her, an idea sparked. What if she were to rewrite the narrative? With sharpened determination, Mary picked up her pen, ready to take a decisive stance. The moment of truth was nearing, and she wasn't about to let it slip away. The hum of the office machine buzzed around Mary as she settled back into her workspace, a newfound clarity crystallizing her direction. She spread her notes across the desk like a protective shield. They held all her hard work, but now they were also the foundation of her strategy to confront the challenges ahead. Mary realized that her earlier triumph had set the stage for a more significant battle with Jack's persistent skepticism. Brushing a stray hair from her face, she began to analyze not just her proposal, but the underlying dynamics at play. Would Jack continue to act as the devil's advocate, or could she convert his critiques into stepping stones? The desire for validation was seductive, but she had learned the hard way that her confidence must lead, not follow. Leaning back in her chair, Mary harnessed this moment for introspection. In her mind, a voice resonated. To progress professionally, she needed to evolve beyond merely defending her ideas. She envisioned herself not just as a participant in a debate but as the architect of her vision. This included anticipating situations before they spiraled into confrontation. What strategies could she employ to disarm Jack's jibes and transform them into enlightening dialogues? A shift in her internal script was essential. With a pen clasped tightly, she began jotting down not just revisions for her proposal, but also potential rebuttals. For every conceivable challenge Jack might pose, she would prepare a response designed not just to refute but to build, repurposing resistance into collaborative dialogue. She felt the richness of empowerment flow through her, reshaping her fear into a tool she could wield effectively. By the end of the afternoon, Mary's desk transformed into an organized chaos, vibrant with post-it notes and annotated papers. Each detail was not just a response, it was a testament to her evolving mindset. She embraced the ambiguity of constructive feedback rather than shying away from it. The office echoing with the sounds of coworkers seemed muted compared to the chorus of thoughts in her mind. Through this exercise, she uncovered an unexpected asset, her ability to connect ideas, weaving them into coherent narratives that resonated emotionally. It wasn't just the hard facts she needed to present but the story behind them. As her thoughts flowed, she contemplated integrating case studies into her proposal to lend credibility and empathy. Sharing examples of partnerships that blossomed under pressure could demonstrate her foresight effectively. Her phone chimed with an email notification. It was from Linda, who had taken a keen interest in Mary's progress. "Let's catch up," the message read. Quickly, Mary's heart raced. Linda represented not only support but a bridge to deeper insights. Interaction with her could add layers of strength to her already solid foundations. A sense of urgency compelled her to respond, solidifying a meeting for the following day. Yet, just as she felt she was gaining ground, the remnants of doubt crept in like shadows at dusk. Would Linda be impressed? Would she see through the layers of Mary's strategies, or would she expect more? The potential for external judgment gnawed at her, stirring an unsettling mix of anticipation and dread. But through the unyielding tension within her, a flicker of determination ignited. She was no longer just preparing to defend herself, she was cultivating her identity as a leader who could navigate complexities. With every note revised, she edged closer to a transformative realization. True authority came from viewing challenges as avenues for growth, not obstacles to overcome. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across her workspace, Mary wrapped her day with a decisive thought. She would show Jack and everyone else that hesitation was not a weapon of choice, but an opportunity for insight. Now, it was time to take that leap. Both for herself and against any doubt that threatened to strangle her confidence, Mary stood at the threshold of a revelation that could redefine her trajectory at work. What lay ahead would not just be a proposal review, it would be an unveiling of her true leadership potential. And as she sat back, contemplating her next steps, a new concern stirred within her. How far was she willing to push herself to be seen as more than a number cruncher? The true test was approaching, and the stakes had never felt higher. Mary emerged from the pivotal meeting with David, her excitement tempered by the lurking presence of Jack. The atmosphere had felt charged, almost electric, during her presentation. Yet now, as she walked through the bustling corridors filled with suits and ties, she felt a lingering pulse of apprehension. Jack's sardonic smile echoed in her thoughts. But she had broken new ground. She had taken her place, each step echoing the tenacity she had harnessed throughout this journey. Weeks passed as Mary meticulously refined her proposal, her focus unwavering. She immersed herself in research, mapping out strategies that not only highlighted the financial benefits of her ideas but also the impact on corporate culture, a motivation for productivity that resonated well beyond spreadsheets. With every late night spent in her dimly lit apartment, her confidence transformed, guided by the mantra her grandfather once instilled in her: true success is rooted in believing in oneself. The moment of decision arrived when the email from Linda landed in her inbox. Linda's interest became a catalyst for Mary's ambitions. They met in a sleek cafe, where Mary articulated her vision, the excitement burning in her gut providing the fuel she needed to confront her doubts. Linda listened intently, the expression on her face shifting from curiosity to admiration as Mary spoke with unbridled conviction. "That's exactly the kind of energy we need," Linda declared. "The numbers are solid, but it's your drive and insight that will make this proposal unforgettable. Remember, your voice matters. Don't let Jack or anyone shadow that." With renewed fervor, Mary left the cafe pondering the next move she would make. The conference was closing in, and she promised herself that she would not merely attend, she would dominate the conversations, engage potential allies, and convert skeptics. As the days drew nearer, her preparation shifted from defensive to offensive. She refined her pitch into a compelling narrative, using data not as obstacles but as allies that showcased her integrated vision. Each practice session bolstered her authority, and when the conference day arrived, Mary felt invigorated, ready to rise to the occasion. She strode into the venue, head held high, each step resonating with newfound clarity. Networking began, and conversations felt different this time. They were not merely opportunistic exchanges but genuine dialogues brimming with potential. When she spotted Jack across the crowd, her heart raced, but it was no longer with trepidation, it was with readiness. "Mary," Jack called, feigning casualness, "I didn't think you'd have the courage to show up again." Mary halted, letting his jibe wash over her. "Courage isn't about showing up, Jack. It's about doing the work necessary to bring change." The words were steady, layer upon layer of her evolution shining in that moment. Jack's smirk faltered but quickly resumed, veiling the disbelief she sensed gripping him. Just then, David approached, his presence shifting the dynamics. "Mary," he said, "I'd love to see you present that proposal. The feedback at the last meeting was overwhelmingly positive, and I believe the industry is ready to listen." As she presented her polished proposal once more, her confidence brimmed over. Each stat reinforced her narrative, drawing connections between corporate responsibility and financial gain. What had once felt like fragile ambition was now a resolute testament to her growth, emerging vast and palpable. When she finished, the applause that erupted caught her off guard. She felt Linda's approving gaze in the audience, spurring her to embrace the moment. Jack's expression, a mix of disbelief and admiration, confirmed that she had not only delivered but conquered. "Let's take this to the next stage, Mary," David said, extending his hand. "Collaboration could spark breakthrough ideas. I believe you can revolutionize what we know about industry engagements. We won't rush, but I want to ensure you have the resources to bring this vision to life." It was an exhilarating moment. The culmination of tireless work and unwavering determination distilled into a tangible opportunity. Mary shook his hand, feeling the weight of her journey culminate in that single gesture. No longer just a cleaner, she was becoming a change agent within the industry, someone able to redefine spaces previously dominated by indifference and hierarchy. With this recognition came a powerful realization: she was no longer constrained by definitions imposed on her by others. A newfound sense of self-assuredness enveloped Mary as she navigated past Jack, who wore a begrudging respect on his face. Instead of feeling overshadowed, she welcomed the realization that she had transformed the narrative of her journey, she had conquered doubt, and with it, the perceived limits of her identity. Stepping out of the building, the afternoon sun radiated a warmth that felt like validation. Mary breathed deeply, realizing that her struggles had birthed a resilience that had endowed her with not just professional recognition but personal fulfillment. She had crafted a path defined by her efforts and insights, an unforgettable mark on her trajectory. Mary might have started as a cleaner, but she had proven that no role was too small for ambition to soar. A lesson was now firmly etched in her mind: life's true evaluations come not from titles, but from how courageously one conquers their own shadows. Your journey is not over. Don't wait even one more second. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support. Comment your reactions and theories about the ending below. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. This is the moment to uplift everyone around you by sharing these powerful stories.